The Richard Mille RM 028, a distinguished timepiece in the world of luxury watches, embodies the fusion of avant-garde technology and elegant design. This remarkable model showcases Richard Mille's commitment to pushing the boundaries of watchmaking, resulting in a timepiece that seamlessly combines innovation, performance, and aesthetics. With its distinctive features and impeccable craftsmanship, the RM 028 has earned its place as an icon in the realm of high-end horology. Despite its deviation from the typical dive watch criteria, it stands as one of the most unconventional dive watches ever created. While many dive watches are known for their extraordinary depth resistance or additional complications, the RM 028 takes a different path. It doesn't claim to withstand great depths or feature numerous complications, and it's surprisingly straightforward. So, what makes the RM 028 so unique in the world of dive watches? To understand why the RM 028 is considered extraordinary, we need to define what a dive watch truly is. It's not just any watch you can take underwater. It must adhere to specific stringent standards. Unlike chronographs or pilot's watches, which serve various purposes, a true dive watch must meet strict criteria. A slight error in a dive watch's design or functionality could have dire consequences, making it essential to meet these stringent standards. The International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, has established two sets of guidelines to define the specific requirements for a watch to be categorized as a dive watch. It's worth noting that if you're a photographer wondering about the ISO setting on your camera, the Swiss standards for digital sensors matching film sensitivity are indeed related to this ISO. But let's focus on dive watches. Diving in the context of watchmaking is a relatively recent development. Unlike chronographs, calendars, and chiming mechanisms, which have been around for centuries, the concept of a dive watch is relatively new. Water resistance had been explored sporadically in history, but it wasn't commercially pursued. Not many people would wear a watch while swimming, and affordable, practical diving wasn't common. The advent of the self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, or scuba, revolutionized diving, eliminating the need for heavy suits and oxygen lines to the surface. This allowed people to explore greater depths and spend more time underwater, creating a demand for suitable underwater timekeeping devices. There was a lucrative opportunity waiting at the depths of the ocean, and a reliable dive watch was essential for this venture. The development of dive watches took place at a rapid pace. Water resistance in watches had already been explored with models like the 1927 Rolex Oyster and the 1932 Omega Marine. However, a true dive watch required more than just light water resistance. It needed significantly increased water resistance and had to be usable in dark and challenging underwater conditions. Watches like the 1938 Panerai Radiomere introduced glowing paints for underwater readability, along with legible high-contrast dials and hands. Another crucial aspect was timing. While a standard watch already displayed constant running time, a dive watch needed a feature that could be read at a glance without the risk of making a mistake. One of the early developments leading to the dive watch bezel was the 1937 Rolex Zerograph, a flyback monopusher chronograph concept that never went into full production. The dive watch bezel reached its final form in the 1953 Blancpain 50 Fathoms, often considered the precursor of modern dive watches. The uniqueness of this version lay in a simple but critical modification. The bezel could only turn in one direction. This feature was essential because it ensured that time could only be accidentally subtracted from a reading, never added, preventing divers from mistakenly believing they have more time than they actually do. This set the groundwork for the ISO 2281 water-resistant watch standard. Importantly, it's water-resistant, not waterproof, as no watch is completely impervious to water, and the ISO 6425 diver's watch standard. These standards mandate that a dive watch must meet specific criteria, including reliability underwater, a time pre-selecting device like a bezel, underwater legibility, a running indicator such as a second hand, mild magnetic resistance, shock resistance, and salt water resistance. Only when a watch meets all these requirements can it be designated as a true diver's watch. The RM 028, priced at a staggering £88,000, complies with all these standards. To bear the 300-meter label on the dial, it must meet every single one of these criteria. However, this isn't particularly surprising. Dive watches come in various forms, and most of them don't cost a fortune. They tend to be practical and restrained, which stands in stark contrast to the RM 028's extravagant character. This timepiece has taken a radically different path. Every aspect of the RM028 defies logic and reason. It's akin to a situation where I once removed a built-in sideboard in a house. The original builder had over-engineered it to such an extent that the pile of screws I removed was almost as substantial as the pile of wood. The RM028 follows the same principle, and I mean this quite literally. There are an abundance of screws both on the exterior and within the watch, particularly on the bezel. Most dive watches have a simple push-fit bezel insert, but not the RM028. Its bezel is anchored in place by no less than 30 screws. Yes, that's right, 30 screws. Most watches don't even have that many screws in total, let alone in the bezel. Each of these screws is like the specialized fittings used by car manufacturers to prevent amateur mechanics from tampering with engines, splined and drilled in a way that no standard socket from a hardware store can ever fit. This level of over-engineering isn't just for show. While the bezel does turn as it should, it operates differently than you might expect. Most bezels rotate freely and ratchet inside, ensuring they can only move anti-clockwise. However, the RM028 appears to have borrowed a page from the International Space Station's playbook. The protrusions at the top and bottom of the bezel are actually buttons, and both must be pressed simultaneously to make an adjustment. Changing the bezel is challenging when you intend to do so there's no risk of altering it accidentally. The RM028 isn't just crazy in the bezel department, it also boasts an equally massive titanium case. With a 47mm diameter and thickness akin to a bus, it resembles more of a scale model of a submarine set to rediscover the lost city of Atlantis rather than a timepiece for your wrist. The case's industrial facets appear designed more for fluid dynamics than aesthetics, with the crown snugly nestled between robust I-beam guards. Sighting it is almost a two-person job, and it's no wonder that this is Richard Mille's foray into the world of dive watches, as it leaves an indelible impact. Every aspect of the RM028 has been pushed to the extreme, from the hands that resemble diving boards to the skeletonized RMAS7 caliber with its structurally sculpted end plates and variable inertia rotor weight. This watch exudes sheer audacity and drama, surpassing every other dive watch on the market. It makes the Omega Seamaster Professional look like a submariner in comparison. Now, it's evident that none of these elements are genuinely necessary. If a 500-pound watch can meet the same ISO 2281 and 6425 requirements, the RM028 doesn't need 30 screws in its bezel or a case that resembles a steampunk battleship. However, this watch isn't about practicality. As Richard Mille himself noted, this is an application of archaic technology constructed with modern techniques, and there's no ISO standard for that. The mechanical dive watch is a relic open to extreme interpretation. While the RM028 might be considered the craziest dive watch, it also manages to make sense in its own unique way. That's it for this segment. Thank you for joining us at Ventichic. Please take a moment to like and comment on this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated. See you in our next video.